Welcome back, boys. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV, and of course, I need to bring out the player ratings video after that very competitive win against Lille last night. I ain't trying to waste any time. If you like today's video, you already know what to do. Help me get more than 1,500 likes for today's video, and we move straight in, starting with Kepa. Boys, I can't lie. I thought Kepa looked quite good last night. Now, yeah, I know that he made one crazy error when it came to Tomori, but we have to admit he saved the situation, and what really impressed me was how brave Kepa was. He constantly kept rushing his lines every single time. His speed was on point, and he got fast, he made himself big, and he was very brave in those situations. And I think that I want to see this type of Kepa more often. I think that he is very talented. Remember, he's still a very young goalkeeper. By the time he gets to his peak, that's going to be when he's like, what, maybe 28, 30. So he's got a lot of time to still improve. But I like that in moments where Kepa has to be on point, he is. And I think this marks the quality of the player. And this is why I'm really excited to see how he eventually develops in the future. For that reason, I'm going to score Kepa a 7.5 out of 10. Now, we move on to Reece James. And with Reece, we need to understand that it was very difficult for him due to the tactical setup of the team. Now, as you guys can see beside me, you can see the pass map in yesterday's game. As you can see, everything was focused down the flanks. So what ended up happening time and time again was that the wing-backs kept constantly getting overloaded. And this is where I need to give credit to Reece James, because in a very difficult encounter, he was still able to use his brain. He found footballing solutions, he moved infield, he played switch balls to Alonso. And this is why I think this guy is definitely going to be a top class player. Now, at times with his defending, he made one or two mistakes, but it wasn't that deep. And with the intensity of yesterday's game, it was kind of understandable. He made decisive tackles when he had to. I thought his delivery was dangerous, and I thought that he played decent overall. For that reason, I'm going to score Reece a 6.5 out of 10. We move on to Aspie. He played in his best position, which is playing on the right hand side of a back three. I think that's how you get the best out of Aspie. We saw in the game yesterday that when he got forward playing in a back three, he was playing in some of his trademark crosses in which he used to play to Morata all those years back in the day. And I like that he looked to support Reece every single time. I like that Aspie was vocal. We don't tend to see that from the player consistently. For that reason, I'm going to score Aspie a 6.5 out of 10. Now we move on to Kurt Zouma, and I think the situation that needs to be addressed immediately was his involvement for the goal we conceded. Now I see it a bit differently. I think that responsibility has to be shared between three people. Osimhen for a great goal, Frank Lampard for using a zonal setup when we had so much height and physicality in the lineup, and of course Kurt Zouma, because as we know, and as I've said quite a lot, it's like the guy's leap is too good. Now, if he was a basketball player, things would be great for him. And I think that he struggles to really control his physicality, which is quite interesting for me. It tells me that it's something he can get better in. I've seen Zouma improve in so many aspects of his game. One thing that impressed me yesterday was his passing out from the back. Now, I know people will tell me Zouma can't pass. I'm sorry. You're wrong. How many times did he play balls out to the wing backs? He played with his head up. He was constantly a passing outlet, and he moves the ball quick. On top of that, he was commanding yesterday. Very good aerially. I know that his error for the goal is going to be used against him. I know that we love to just, players can make one little mistake and will dismiss the 9 good things they do. To me, that's not fair. I thought that Zouma was still good, and for that reason, I'm going to score Kurt a 7.5 out of 10. Now we move on to Tomori, and wow, Zouma got a 7.5. Tomori is going to get a higher score than him because he was our best defender. I'm not saying by a ton, but my God, what impressed me with Tomori was how he used the ball. Now, I knew that he was good technically, but I didn't realize he was this good. I'm being serious, you guys. Now, playing in a back three means that our defenders can express themselves and show their techers, but my God, the passes he was playing. Honestly, if you've never seen football before, you might have mistaken Tomori for a central midfield player. Like when he moved in the final third, this guy was playing serious passes. I really get the impression that Tomori could be a better version of a Willian Gallas, and for me, that is really exciting. The guy was incredible last night. For that reason, Tomori is going to get an 8 out of 10. And listen, both him and Zouma made at least 1 or 2 small mistakes, but that can't undermine their overall performance. These guys were exceptional. Now we move on to Marcus Alonso, and wow, as I'm telling you guys, every time it comes to a new footballing season, I like to have a fresh perspective. I want to understand everything that's happening. I don't want to let my bias skew opinions. So this means that when it comes to guys like Marcus Alonso, I am going to look at them with a fresh pair of eyes. And so far this season, I'm sorry, Alonso has been solid. I haven't seen Marcus Alonso this solid for a very, very, very long time now. He looks comfortable. His aerial presence is defending. His defending has been on point. Now, of course, he has his limitations going forward, but we know that he's not some gun-ho attacking fullback, so I'm not going to use that against him. He worked with the team, he fought hard, positional sense was good, and he looked to get forward as best he could. I thought our defense, it was decent last night, you guys. For that reason, I'm going to score Alonso a 7 out of 10. Now, you guys, quick plug. Remember, if you have not downloaded the OneFootball app, honestly, what are you waiting for? My guy, by now, the way that I've been constantly talking about OneFootball for years, you should have it by now. If you haven't, you guys know where to find it in the link in the description below. And now, we move on to the midfield, starting with N'Golo Kante. And listen, due to the tactical nature of yesterday's game, it meant that our midfield guys couldn't really get too involved in the play. They got isolated and they really had to play supportive roles. But what I liked about Kante, and as I keep saying, this guy is a world-class footballer, not a world-class tackler or defender. He's an overall world-class footballer. My God, the way he kept carrying the ball and beating his man. I know that Kante is good with the ball at his feet, but how many times did he go on driving runs, which he was forced to do? He had no options near him. He had to collect the ball, and I like seeing this part of N'Golo Kante. The guy is very multifaceted. Of course, he couldn't influence the game that much, and for that reason, he is going to get a 6 out of 10. Now, we move on to Jorginho, and I must admit, in the match review, I spoke about Cover playing over him, but then I realised, Kante was the guy in midfield tasked with making driving runs inside the final third. That's not up to Jorginho. Imagine if Jorginho was doing that, or if Cover played alongside Kante. It would mean that, we'd have no discipline in the middle, because we know that Cover does like to get forwards. To be honest, the thing that disappointed me, even though it was hard for Jorginho due to the tactical nature, was the quality of his passes. A lot of times the forward pass was really bad. I'm sorry. And for that reason, he is going to get a 6 out of 10. He's only getting a 6 because defensively, he was on point. And, I'm looking at the team balance, the team shape, and he still played his part for the team. Now we move on to Mason Mount himself. And honestly, for guys have to play out wide, it was really a struggle in yesterday's game because the entire game was played down both flanks. There wasn't enough space. And when you play Mason Mount on the left, he needs an attacking fullback beside him that's going to overlap in the spaces created by Mason Mount. So that means that I'm not going to use that against him because naturally he couldn't influence the game as much, but he is going to lose marks for some poor shots on goal. This guy got in some very good positions and I'm expecting a bit more from Mason Mount in these areas. I really think that we need to see him playing in the middle. Now that Hudson's back, I'm guessing maybe this Sunday we're going to see that. But with Mason, he's going to get credit for his defensive pressing ability. He helps his team out tremendously. For that reason, he's going to score a standard 6 out of 10. We move on to Willian, the player that the fans love to hate. And as I'm stressing you guys, with every time a new season comes, let's look at the players with fresh perspectives. We're playing a new system, with a new manager, with new players in the team. With Willian playing now, he's not forced to just stick to the right hand side. He can move in central, and we know that Willian's best collecting and driving the ball from deep. That's been the real reason why he's been on point for the team since he's been playing, and yesterday I thought he was very effective again. He took his goal amazingly well, and as I keep stressing, he's deservedly in the team at this moment in time. For that reason, Willian is going to score a 7 out of 10. And to end with the first scene, we move on to Tammy Abraham. Listen, Tammy Abraham showed that he can play at this type of level. I'm sorry, the guy's first touch is on point. Now I understand that he lost the ball a lot, but listen, he's still quite young. It's hard when you're up against two defenders behind you. A lot of times he was getting fouled from behind or getting dispossessed, but he was still competing. He still competed very well, and a lot of times the good things were paying off for him instead of the bad things going against him. Now, the goal he scored just really typified the class of Tammy Abraham. My God, How sexy, how classy, how good. That first touch, the awareness, the composure. You can't score a goal like this by accident if you're not a good player. For that reason, Tammy is going to get a 7 out of 10. Now, we do move on to the subs. I'm going to score Pedro and Cover together because they didn't get to play as much, so it's really hard to rate them. They're both going to get standard 6 out of 10s. The guy I want to focus on is going to be Callum Hudson-Odoi. He comes on, and what does he do? He performs. He performs. That assist for Willian. Listen, that wasn't a fluke. He didn't play that cross by accident. He was looking for Willian. He saw him at the far post and he played the most accurate cross to him. Perfect weight, which allowed Willian to attempt a volleyed effort. Callum has that X factor we need, and once he plays down the left hand side, you're going to see what him and Mason Mount are really about. For that reason, Callum is going to get a 7 out of 10. And to end things briefly with Frank Lampard, listen, he is going to lose some marks for the zonal system. I personally feel like with the height and physicality, maybe a man marking approach would be there. I understand that with zonal, you know, it comes down to the execution, and I think it's going to take the players a while to fully understand it. Still though, he is going to score marks for the timing of the substitutions made. It affected the game for us positively, and I think that when he used a 3-4-3, it had a few more pros than it did cons. But I think what we constantly forget about Frank Lampard is that he's still a very young manager and he's only gonna get better. And if at this stage in his career, he's so strong tactically already, I mean, my God, in the next few years, it's gonna be unbelievable. And on that note, you guys, that's gonna bring it in for today's player ratings video. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. See you guys later.